a part of chemistry which has to do with what? Substances, okay? Now when we say a substance, this word substance is actually it means a lot, okay? But in chemistry, we are referring as a substance as a type of matter that has a definite composition and what properties, okay? So substances, they are made up of atoms and molecules, and they have a definite composition or properties that makes them to be called substances. So in chemistry, a substance can either be classified as being a pure substance or an impure substance. Okay, so when we talk about this pure substance, these pure substances are composed of elements or compounds that have a definite proportion or chemical proportion or ratio depending on what is present. Okay, so but a mixture consists of two or more elements or compounds that are held not chemically, but they are held at a certain temperature. They are held together so they can easily break off. Okay, so mixtures and impure substances are mixtures. Okay, sorry, I'm talking about impure substances now. So impure substances, they contain what we call impurities. Okay, so these impurities or those extra substances that differentiates the pure and the impure is what makes them impure, to be specific. Okay, I want to be specific now. So now when we talk about a pure substance can either be in form of an element when it is in a pure state. It can also be a compound when it's in a pure state. Okay, so now of course we know that elements are also subdivided into what? Metals, non-metals. We have the metalloids. Okay, I also have the noble gases. Then also the compounds. Compounds are a combination of two or more elements that are chemically combined. Examples of compound, example of a compound. Let's use example calcium triosocarbonate 3. Okay, this is a compound. So this compound contains calcium, carbon, and oxygen in a ratio of 1:1:3. Okay, so the same thing with elements. Elements they are simplest form of a substance, okay, that exists alone. Okay, examples of elements, we have elements like sodium, potassium, and the rest of them. Okay, so now what is the difference? I want to talk about pure substance and impure substance. What is their difference? How can we differentiate between a pure substance and an impure substance? Number one is that the percentage purity of any pure substance is 100% or very, very close to 100%. For you to say a substance is pure, the percentage purity or the level of purity must be up to 100% or 99.99, very close to 100%. But for an impure substance, their percentage purity is less because there is an impurity that will either reduce that purity or the percentage purity. But if the percentage purity is almost 100%, then it means the substance is pure. But if the percentage purity is less than, let's say, from 90 or 80 or down and above, then there's an impurity there. So that substance is an impure substance. Take note of that. The next thing we'll talk about, how can we differentiate between a pure substance and an impure substance? Their physical properties are constants. For pure substance, their physical properties are constant because they are composed of a definite composition that makes them pure. So their physical properties are constant. But for the impure substances, their physical properties varies. Okay? Their physical property varies. The next point you have to know is that for a pure substance, the melting and boiling point are fixed. Take note of that. Their melting and boiling point are fixed. Why are they fixed? Because it is made of an exact material inside it. So that thing that is inside that material and made it pure has a particular boiling and melting point, which is constant. But for impure substance have a mixture of two different things that are not having the same property. Okay, so because of that, their melting and boiling point will be different depending on the impurity that is present. some impurities lowers the boiling point or increases the boiling point, while some alters the melting and the boiling point at the same time. So the impurity present depends on what will happen to the melting and the boiling point of that material. Okay, now the next one is that for pure substances, they are made up of single elements or compound. Pure substances are made up of single elements or compounds. Okay, they have a, like I've told you, they have a ratio that can make up those. So, and those ratios, they are chemically combined, so you can actually separate them. Okay, but for impure substances, they consist of this element and mixture. They are not held chemically, they are held by maybe a kind of a attraction which can be broken if the temperature of that material is increased or decreased. Okay, so now when we talk about impure substances, we are referring to mixtures. Mixtures is it's a good example of an impure substance. Example, if you mix sand and water, it's an impure solution. Okay, if you mix salt and water, it's an impure solution. If you mix ethanol and water and alcohol and water, they have formed an impure solution. Okay, now those solutions are impure and we call them mixtures. Why are they called mixtures? They are called mixtures because you can separate them with a physical means. You can apply any separation techniques that can separate those mixtures into two different components. For example, if I have a mixture of ethanol and or let's say I have a mixture of sodium chloride and salt and water, I can separate it by what? There are methods you can separate it. You can use evaporation to dryness method, because sodium chloride, when you evaporate the water, you have your salt remaining. If I have a mixture of sand and water, I can separate it by what? Filtration method, right? That we'll talk about that in the next video. Okay, for now, just know that any mixture that you can separate using a physical means or a separation techniques to separate it, then that substance is definitely a mixture. And mixtures are good examples of what? Of impure substance, because the essence of separation techniques is to what? Make those mixtures to be separated, so you can be able to get the pure filtrate and also the pure residue at the same time. Okay, so now mixtures can either be homogeneous or heterogeneous. When we say homogeneous and heterogeneous, a homogeneous mixture is a mixture that when you dissolve it together, it forms a clear solution. It doesn't show any precipitate or anything that shows that there's a mixture in it. Example, if you put your salt, try this at home, put your salt and water together, you will notice that a mixture of these two things, you will not even know that there's a salt in the solution. The solution becomes clear. But if you put sand and water inside this place, sand plus water, you will notice that there is sand in the water, because the sand will go and settle at the down part of that container, forming a heterogeneous solution. So this solution is a heterogeneous solution, this one is a homogeneous. So these kind of solutions, they are called homogeneous because they are the solute and is soluble in the solvent. That is the solute, which is the salt here. The salt here is soluble in the what? Solvent. When you put it here, it dissolves. But when you put this sand here, sand is insoluble in water, so it forms a heterogeneous what? Solution. So this is just a summary of what a pure substance and an impure substance look at. So as we go down, we're going to talk about these things one by one. Okay, so examples of elements, elements, your first 20 elements, you have from your hydrogen down to calcium. You know those ones, right? So in this video, I'm just trying to show you what a pure substance and an impure substance looks like. Is there any point I'm not taking care of? I've taken care of all the points on the board. Okay, look at the points I made for pure substances. They are made up of single element or compound, which I told you they can be element or compound. Their physical properties are constant, because they are pure substances. They have the same physical property, which is constant. Their percentage purity is close to 100% or 100%. Okay, then their chemical properties are also constant, right? They have a fixed melting and boiling point. But under impure substances, they are made up of several elements and compounds held at a certain temperature, meaning that they can break off when that temperature is what? Is being exceeded or broken. Okay, then they are categorized as heterogeneous or homogeneous solution. Okay, their chemical properties are varying, unlike this. So with all these properties now, you can see that you can be able to differentiate between a pure substance and an impure substance.